Good evening, everybody. We are going to get started in one moment. I'm going to promote everybody that needs to be promoted to panelists, and then we'll get underway. Wonderful. Okay, so I think we want to be respectful of people's time and we want to get started as quickly as possible. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to open my agenda so we can get started. Okay, so I want to take a moment to go over a few administrative items, including our Zoom conduct. We ask that everyone's name that's participating in this meeting be labeled. So we don't want it to say iPhone 999762 blah, 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 or Samsung, whatever. So if you could please identify yourselves in the attendee list, that would be greatly appreciated. And unfortunately, if not, you will be removed from the meeting. In addition, we ask that you use the raise your hand function if you have a question and/or dial *9 to be able to unmute yourself and speak. Next, with that, we'll have everyone's had the opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Any questions about the agenda? Okay, with that, it will be approved by acclamation. We will keep moving forward. Next is the approval of the October 2023.
Chair Brooks, sorry, this is Kevin. I don't recall a roll call. I think we should do the roll call.
We should do that, yes. Would you do that, please?
Sure. All right, run it down the list. 4B01.
Present.
4B02.
Present.
4B03.
Present.
04.
Present.
05 is present. 06.
She's in the
She's
attendee.
here.
Waiting on
Yeah, I'm trying to promote her now.
All right, I'll mark present. 07. Not present. 08.
Present.
09.
I don't see Derek in the attendee list, so I don't think he's here.
All right, and 10 is vacant.
All right. Okay, let me get back to my notes here. I believe we were about to discuss the 2023 October 2023 public meeting minutes. Believe that everyone has received them and had the opportunity to review them. Are there any questions, corrections, any concerns? All right, we'll accept them by acclamation and keep moving forward. Next, we have the approval of the Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4B annual report for 2023 and the recognition of our student art submission winners. I'm going to ask Evan to share his screen, and we're just going to run through some highlights and show everybody's artwork for a second. For those that are not aware, ANC 4B had its first ever art competition to include youth in our process, right? We now have a youth advisory group. We saw this as another way, another form of outreach. So we advertised for artwork for students. We received artwork from students, and we will be acknowledging that artwork next, in addition to discussing our annual report, which I think is a very important piece of our annual work. All right, so our cover was submitted by an eighth grader, Cassidy Swanson McElney, I believe. I hope I'm not mispronouncing her last name. So we will be awarding a small token of our appreciation to all of our winners. Go ahead, Evan, if you don't mind. Next, we have Joseph Reddick from Tacoma Elementary School. And I should say that these range from what was it, K through 3, K through 2 was one group, 3 through 5 was another, 6 through 8 was a third, and then high school. So every group had the opportunity to make submissions. Okay, so the purpose, before I keep going with the photos, the purpose of the annual report, as I think everyone knows, is to highlight the activities of the commission throughout the year. Everyone had the opportunity to contribute a segment of this report covering what happened inside of each one of our SMDs. It also looks at all of the resolutions that we've passed, sort of holistically. Let's keep going, Emin. Okay, and this is from Green, Friendship Ideal Public Charter School, and Breland is in the 5th grade. And Nayla Jones is, where is her name? I don't see her name. Oh, I do. She's in the 8th grade also and is 13 years old. I still can't draw like this, so I'm really impressed. Each of these are our submissions and a summary of the work performed in the SMD. Then we have each committee. And fortunately for us, Ethan Polk submitted a chalk rendering of the Metro train plan, which I think is amazing and much appreciated. We've done a lot of work in the Vision Zero area. Obviously, we have a committee that meets monthly with regard to that. We have Cindy Monroe, also from Friendship Ideal, and she is a 5th grader and 10 years old. We had a lot of budget proposal work. We have reports on each committee. So that would have been Vision Zero, as I mentioned. It would have been Housing Justice. We also had a public safety committee as well that ended earlier in the year. That is referenced here. This is from Callie Young. Callie is 10 years old and in the 5th grade. We have Violet Wheaton from Ida B. Wells. And Violet, I think if I remember correctly, is a 7th grader and a resident of 4B04. Okay. And this is Kiara Frazier, also at Friendship Ideal, and a 13-year-old 8th grader. Gabriella provided us a clear reminder of what we were all living through in the pandemic with our masks. She's also at Friendship Ideal, and I don't think I have her grade, but we'll keep going. This is Sage Williams from DC Bilingual. She's 8 years old and in the 3rd grade. Dakota Canty, the 8th grader. She's 14. So we also spend some time talking out our budget and how we allocated our resources in this report for residents that are interested in seeing that. Keep going for me, Evan. Thank you. I'm making you go back and forth. I'm sorry. So we have Angel McCain, who's also with Friendship Ideal. And Eliza Sosa of Tacoma Elementary School. And then lastly, the back of the document is Amira Payne. She's an 8th grader, age 13. So we are going to recognize all of these students. We're going to get them copies of the reports and send them a gift card with our appreciation and thanks. We found it very difficult to exclude anyone, and so everybody's a winner in 4B. So that's the plan. Is there a motion to accept the annual report as submitted? Thank you, Michelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just imagine if we don't approve this, we'll have to do it all again.
Are we counting for Commissioner Johnson's vote?
Um,
tempted to
If
promote her
she's gonna
again.
call in, she said she was having audio trouble with her computer. So she would
Yes,
have,
I'm here. I'm
okay,
here.
is that an I?
Yes, it's
All
an
right,
I.
thank you.
Sorry, I'm on my cell phone.
No worries. Okay,
Commissioner Johnson has also joined us. Thompson has just joined us. I'm sorry.
okay. Give me 1 second, I can elevate him. Next, with that, we can go to commissioner updates. While I'm elevating Commissioner Thompson, can we start with 4B01 and just everybody keep rolling forward? If you have
Sure.
nothing to notify anyone of, if you could just say that and then the next person can go. Thank you.
Sure. Happy holiday season, everyone. 4B01 will have a cleanup this Saturday, December 2nd. At 10 a.m. and anyone who's interested in joining us can meet us at the intersection of Blair and Fern. If you need any additional information, would like any additional information, feel free to email me for B01, of course, at anc.dc.gov.
I don't see, oh, he's already elevated. You did it, Commissioner Yates. Thank you. I'm so confused. All right, 4B02.
Yes, thank you. Just a few quick updates on some meetings we've had over the last couple of weeks. On November 10th, Commissioner Yates, Commissioner Smith, and I hosted a community safety through community building event at Tacoma Village Co-housing. They provided us physical space and hybrid meeting support, which was quite wonderful. We had a lot of folks there, including Safe Passage representatives, Metro Transit Police representatives, folks from the Deputy Auditor on Public Safety, local school representatives and our local small businesses, and the District Department of Behavioral Health and the District Department of Parks and Recreation. This was a great collaborative, constructive meeting, and if anyone is interested in hearing updates about that or anything we might be doing related to that in the future, please reach out. Also on November 20th, there was a meeting hosted by Mary McLeod Bethune Public Charter School, a virtual meeting about their proposed relocation to Tacoma Park Baptist Church at Aspen and Piney Branch Road. There are a lot of questions about that, so if you have interest in that issue, please contact me. The school will be coming to our commission's January meeting to present then as well. And I will have my monthly community cleanup on December 2nd at 10 a.m. We meet by the Safeway at Piney Branch and Van Buren. Thank you.
Sure. 4B03.
Happy holidays, everyone. I just want to give a big up to Commissioner Palmer on her leadership and support for the public safety meeting. I learned a lot from other community leaders. I think we came up with, had a great talk, discussion, and hopefully we can find some great solutions to regarding public safety in our community. So thank you, Aaron, again, and Commissioner Yates. That's all I have.
Wonderful. 4B04.
Likewise, my appreciation to Commissioners Palmer and Smith for co-hosting that meeting. Commissioner Palmer, of course, had so much to list. She left out the appreciation of everybody who joined the both of us for our Thanksgiving Day cleanup. And I want to thank everybody who came out and helped us clean our adopted block by Tacoma Elementary.
Wonderful. 4B05.
No updates tonight, thanks.
4B06.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to state that the next single member district meeting for 4B06 will be next Monday, December 4th. And information about that is on my website. We will be having the Department of Public Works coming out to discuss their leaf collection process and the changes to the program.
Thank you. 4B07 is not here, so I'm 4B08. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible amount of work that went into creating our annual report. Commissioner Palmer and Commissioner Yates, in addition to all of the other duties of an ANC commissioner, every year seem to take on this project. Commissioner Gilligan also helped this year. He got us started as secretary, and Commissioner Palmer and Commissioner Yates outdid themselves with the layout, and the artwork is beautiful. So thank you very much for all of your help, all three of you, in making sure that all the work that we do every month is adequately represented in one place. And so it's greatly appreciated. With that, I will add that within 4B08, we've had 2 public safety walks in the last 30 days. We've had the opportunity to get out into community and meet with residents and highlight some of the difficulties and concerns that residents are experiencing. MPD has shown up each time in great number, and I am greatly appreciative of their effort to listen to my residents and hear the concerns of what they're experiencing. 4B09.
Happy holidays, everyone. For those of you who have tried to reach me probably in the past 2 weeks, I admit I've been out offline, but I am picking right back up where I left off. I did want to give a shout out, so to speak, to our chair, Allison Brooks, who tagged along with me as I went on along a block that had some concerns with rodent control, and was happy to report that on November 13th, the Department of Health came out, took a look, and we are making progress on that specific area. Also, the Lamont Riggs Citizens Association, I was happy to visit with them in November. Great meeting all of you. Some of you expressed concerns about street vendors there on Riggs Boulevard. Is it Riggs Boulevard? Riggs Road. Is it Riggs Road? Riggs Road. Sorry. Riggs Road. And I have been advocating on your behalf to ensure that whoever is out there is properly licensed. There were concerns from some of the residents, some of our longstanding residents, that they're hearing from these street vendors that they're not just selling the oils and the soaps that you see. Potentially there are cigarettes and other items that are being sold, and the oil situation is just the guise. So I continue to look forward to partnering with DC government to tackle that and not let that go under the rug. And if you have any concerns, I just want you to know that I can be reached at 4b09@anc.dc.gov.
Thank you. And unfortunately, 4B10 is vacant. We ask residents that have concerns with regard to 4B10 that you reach out to all of us or any of us. Usually I am, adjacent to, and so is Commissioner Thompson, to 4B10. And so if you have a concern, I think we'll be probably one of the first ones to address that and let us know so that we can make sure that your area is covered as well. Commissioner Cohen, we had to skip over 4B07. Do you have any updates that you'd like to add now that you're here?
The only update I have is that December 16th is our next SMD 4B07 meeting at the Lamont Recreation Center. It's 10 a.m.
Wonderful. Okay, we will keep moving along. I was able to, before we move into community concerns, to have MPD join us. I know that they're not scheduled to present until after the 2 presentations. If you need to present sooner, if you could let me know in the chat, I would appreciate that, because we don't want to lose you because you need to go take care of something. Okay, with that, we're going to move to community concerns. We ask that you use the raise your hand function. You'll be acknowledged and have 1 minute. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Jocelyn Johnson, you have the floor. We can't hear you.
Days. I wanted to
go.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Oh, I'm unmuted.
You are
Can
now.
you
Go ahead.
hear me now?
We can.
Okay, good. Happy holidays, everybody. I just wanted to come on to say thank you so much for your support and your efforts and everything coming to the Ward 4 Mini Commission meeting that we had on November 9th. I appreciate the seeing the Chair Brooks to attend, and anyone else. It was a crazy day, and it was a long day, so it kind of got a little out of control for me, but I want to thank you guys for allowing me to advertise and as well as your support. And I'll be back with other of the commercials. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. Going once. All right. The floor is yours, Ms. O'Connell.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jessica O'Connell. I'm the school counselor at Whittier Elementary School. And I'm just taking a moment to just speak and advocate for the community at Whittier Elementary in support of the Whittier Spring Space Resolution. A lot of our families are neighborhood families who rely on the ability to walk over to school to get their kids to school, or even on the older siblings of our students who go to school across the street at Attaby Wells or around the corner at Coolidge in order to drop off and pick up our students in the mornings and afternoons. And we're very concerned about possibly being moved far from our community for when our school is modernized, which we so desperately need. And the fact that that might hinder our families from being able to stay a part of the community that we have worked so hard to build. So, you know, I hope that this body will support us in our need to stay in the community at Whittier. Thank you all so much for your time.
You're welcome. If you haven't done so already, I would suggest you reach out to your State Board of Education Representative Fraser O'Leary. He's typically on this meeting. I don't see him yet this evening, but I think he has a better opportunity to impact than maybe this body does. So it wouldn't hurt you to use both avenues.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I don't see any other hands raised. Let's see, is there anything in the chat? I don't think so. So with that, we'll move on to our first presentation, which would be Richard Babout. Well, excuse me, Dr. Chief of Crisis Services, DC Department of Behavioral Health, Alternative 911 Responses and Community Response Team. And if I mispronounced your name, I'm so very sorry. And if you could correct me, it would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Richard Beebout.
Beebout, okay.
Glad to join you and really want to congratulate Aaron and Commissioner Smith and Yates for the meeting on the 9th. I arrived a little late and didn't have an opportunity to join the panel, but I am the Chief of Crisis Services for the DC Department of Behavioral Health. And rather than showing my slides tonight, I just want to say that the DC Department of Behavioral Health and the Crisis Services are working very hard to move away from an automatic law enforcement response to behavioral health crises. Most of the services in the District of Columbia for behavioral health are provided by entities that we certify, but the crisis services are provided directly by DBH. So we operate the call center, the mobile crisis services for adults. We share the responsibility for mobile crisis for children and adolescents. And we operate the city's only psychiatric emergency program at CPEP. A couple of things I want to emphasize. One is that our call center is the district's 988 affiliate. That's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, formerly now the 988 Suicide Prevention and Crisis Lifeline. 3-digit call code that anybody can call from anywhere in the country to get a live behavioral health trained specialist to support not just suicidal crises, but any kind of crisis. DBH is also involved in a partnership with the Office of Unified Communications, the 911 call center, doing a behavioral health diversion pilot project. We're expanding our mobile crisis team and our call center staff so that we can respond more completely in all 8 wards 24/7 to calls to 911 that don't represent an immediate safety concern. And we are also launching this month and next month with MPD a co-response program that has long been advocated for by many advocates in the District of Columbia, which will pair behavioral health specialists with crisis intervention officer trained MPD officers. Currently, we're operating in districts 1, 3, 6, 5, and 6, and look forward next year to expanding into 7th district. So let me stop there. I'm glad to take questions, but as I said, the Department of Behavioral Health, we were invited to the Public Safety Forum. We are very interested in moving away from an automatic law enforcement response to behavioral health crises. And through contract and through our own operations, provide mobile crisis services 24/7 in all 8 wards in the District of Columbia.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any questions? I saw Derek Thompson, excuse me, I made you a doctor first. So I'll let you go and then Commissioner Yates.
It hasn't been the first time someone's mistaken me for a doctor, so it's okay.
Okay.
Richard, many thanks for your presentation, and I'm excited about a multi-pronged approach to the response to issues in the community. I think I did hear you go 1, 3, 5, and 6, and then 7 next year.
Right.
Are there any plans for 4? Is there a timeline, a loose timeline that can be shared on that?
There is no timeline on that. I will tell you that under previous leadership, there was resistance to the creation of a co-response model, but under Chief Conti and Chief Smith, and under Director Dr. Barbara Bazron, there's full support for the establishment of a co-response approach. We are starting with just 5 teams working Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. That's not just a convenient time. Those are the times that the data show the most behavioral health related calls come in. But I fully expect in the future that there will be expansion throughout the city for the co-response approach.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yates?
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Doctor. I really appreciate you taking the time and for coming to our community safety meeting as well. I wanted to ask a little bit about how the Access Helpline works. Because I heard from one of my constituents that it might be changing, that essentially when people call the Access Helpline, now they're connected to a CBO directly, like a referral can be made for follow-up care, right? Like, because even though you may talk a person out of an immediate crisis, they still need to receive appropriate mental health care to be able to fully function. And then now those referrals are made directly to CBO, but not that call staff are now instructed to refer people to their insurance company or their insurance provider to find a participating provider rather than going directly to a CBO. Is that accurate? And if so, what's the transition being made and why?
So it's complicated. Let me try to say that the primary population that we serve is DC Medicaid population, and the Medicaid services have been carved into managed Medicaid care organizations for a number of years. The behavioral health services have been carved out. Next year, we will move to a total carve-in of the behavioral health services. So the Access helpline functions have been a combination of, quite frankly, administrative insurance company functions, including authorizing services, linking people to care, and crisis resolution. And increasingly, the DBH operated crisis services or access helpline call center services will be focused on crisis services, but we are in the middle of working out very detailed protocols to work with the 3 managed Medicaid plans to connect people to services that are not already connected to services. The vast majority of callers to our line are already connected with services, but those referral and authorization functions will migrate. I'd be glad to talk further offline, but it's again, the thrust of this is that Access Helpline will be increasingly moving to predominantly a crisis call center with follow-up to make sure people are connected to care.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Gilligan.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask how DC is comparing to other cities in this type of shift.
So I'm very pleased. I don't think I mentioned actually that we're in the midst of a 911 behavioral health call diversion. I guess I did program. We have been fortunate enough to be awarded 2 years in a row intensive technical assistance from the Harvard Kennedy School's government performance.
Excuse me.
And are learning from them and learning from jurisdictions all over the country about how to move away from an automatic law enforcement response. Specifically, I will tell you that with 988, the 3-digit call code, there's a premium that's placed on the local call center answering local calls, because those call takers know the resources that are available. And there's a premium on the in-state answer rate at 90% of calls into the state. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a network of more than 200 centers. And if a call isn't answered in a timely fashion, it automatically reroutes to another call center. We have met or exceeded the 90% in-state call answer rate for most of the time since the 988 call code went live. We had some challenges with a recent technology update and some workflows, and we've experienced more than a 30% increase in the Lifeline call volume since the 3-digit call code went live July 16th, 2022. But we have restored our performance to the national target level.
Thank you. Are you able to get your email address for follow-up questions?
I was trying to get into the chat before and I couldn't.
Now that you're a presenter, you'll be able to use the chat function.
Okay, I'll be glad to put my email in there.
Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for being here tonight and coming meeting we had, and just to thank your work that you perform. I do hear from constituents who are looking for alternatives to calling 911 when they know the situation is not immediately threatening to safety, or they are looking for something different. And I'm wondering, I hear a lot of people that want more of this type of service, and I'm heartened to hear about this co-response program, and I'm wondering if you feel like your agency is adequately resourced, and where you would want more resources if you could have them.
So the reality is that we have struggled to fill vacancies that have already been funded. I think we will, and I hope we'll be able to continue to grow beyond that capacity. In behavioral health, there is a workforce shortage nationwide. Not all of our staff have to have independent license level of credentials. But we have struggled to staff up to the level that has already been funded. We are making good progress in that area. I think the combination of continued sustained growth in mobile crisis, the 911 diversion, the co-response, establishing outposts for our mobile crisis teams so that they're not, so that their response times are faster. I think all of those things are positive trends that the district has invested pretty heavily in.
Thanks. Commissioner Yates, did you have another question, or is this the second question, or was your hand still raised for
Actually,
the
I have
first?
an annoying question that was brought up, another question that was brought up by the doctor's presentation. I
No,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
ask about the current staffing struggles and time to call answer struggles at OUC, and how that interacts with your agency's performance, right? When we're attempting to try and find people diversions, right? Like, I used to be a dispatcher, and I often think about like the weakest link in the chain when we're attempting to use non-police resources is like making sure that we don't send non-police resources into situations where you do need police officers, and vice versa, right? Like, because it's not a good result for either party. Have the OUC struggles had any impact on DBH's ability to take on that role?
So what I will tell you is that not the staffing levels, but old habits die hard. For so many decades, the automatic dispatch was to MPD or fire and EMS, and now OUC call takers have half a dozen diversion opportunities when a call comes into 911. They are in the midst of implementing new technology that will support call takers in asking specific questions, and then render a recommended disposition for the call. So, for decades, the mantra has been, when in doubt, call out or send out, right? And the send out was MPD or fire and EMS. Now they're going to begin getting a feedback from their system saying divert to DBH. And to override that recommendation is a very, very different thing from somebody taking in all of the information and deciding, oh, this sounds like a diversion opportunity, an eligible call for DBH. So I think that technology will support that, along with, we have co-located some of our call taker staff at the Office of Unified Communications. They're on the floor at OUC. They're there to respond in real time to consultation requests. And they're there as regular reminders of the opportunity to divert calls to 911. I mean, to DBH from 911.
Okay, we have a question from Jean Marie. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, thank you so much. This is Jean Marie Ellikin. I live in Ward 4 and also work for at-large council member Anita Bonds. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for making this space, and really great to hear about all the amazing things that are happening um, in the ward. So specifically, I just wanted to ask whether or not you're receiving reports from mental health practitioners working in schools. And if so, to the extent that you are able to share, like, what are those types of concerns you're seeing?
So I'm not in a place where I specifically am hearing those reports, although I want to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, I neglected to say that I am also a proud Ward 4 resident. Secondly, the mayor and the council and the Department of Behavioral Health, there's funding for behavioral health specialists in every public school and every public charter school in the city. It's been hard to fill all of those positions. But in addition to those site-based positions, I mentioned in passing the child and adolescent mobile psychiatric response team, mobile crisis team, CHAMPS. There have been additional investments in positions for specifically for schools, which are the #1 referral sources to the CHAMPS, the Children and Adolescent Mobile Psychiatric Service program. So I'm sorry, I can't give you more of a flavor for the specific kinds of referrals that we're getting. I will tell you that we are also deeply involved in providing crisis response to the community, including school communities that are experiencing violence or homicide deaths and so forth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we have reached our
Chair Brooks,
presentation limit.
we have
So I
one
want to thank
question
you
in the
for
chat.
coming. There is?
Yes, we had one
Go
question.
ahead.
Yeah. Kimberly Harrington wants to know, for 988 calls, what is the protocol if a caller is unable to become safe during the call and, for example, disconnects from the call? Does the Access Helpline contact police CRT to respond to the caller's location, which would ultimately turn a voluntarily service person calling 988 into an involuntary service, unasked for police that could result in an involuntary commitment?
Understood. It's a great question. And it's let me respond in 2 ways. The short answer is we don't automatically have the call location or the caller's identity or address when somebody calls 988 or Access Helpline. One of the reasons we have not actively advertised the 988 call code is that different from 311 or 911 calls that are geo-routed, 988 is routed currently based on the caller's area code, which that happened not by accident. It happened because of advocates being concerned about the core of the question, which is that somebody seeking help will suddenly experience an invasive intervention from law enforcement, 911. There's a compromise solution around geolocation. I might be misstating geo-routing versus geolocation, but they're going to move to the less precise strategy nationwide, likely going forward. So back to the immediate question: if somebody calls and disconnects, if they haven't given their identity, haven't given their location, the call center does not have the ability to dispatch.
All right, thank you. We have one last question quickly because we have to get MPD up or we're going to lose them. So go ahead.
Pam Griffin wants to know, what is the level of training required for the position in the schools and for receiving calls?
There's a variety of levels of training. We do our own training and we have requirements. I did put my email address in the chat and would invite anybody to follow up with me about the specific requirements. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We're going to have to switch the Project Wish presentation with the MPD conversation so that we don't tie them up. I'm sure we know that they are very busy and are doing us a great favor by being here. So I'm going to promote Commander Lamenhouse now. As soon as she accepts, she'll pop up. Commander, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with you that I need to promote? I thought that Officer Lassane was on, but now I do not see him in my attendee list.
Hamrick was on.
Okay.
But I can just roll with it if he is not.
Okay. Officer Hamrick, I think I see you. So can you use the raise your hand function so I know I'm promoting the right person? Because it just says Robert. Okay, go ahead, Commander. Let us introduce the new commander of the 4th District Police Station. She's already very community oriented and has been to several events inside of 4B. And so we asked if they could come by and give us an update on the MPD role in our community and what's different now that she's in charge. So take the floor, it's yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite. I will try to make this very quick because it has been a while and I have to get back to it. We have a few that are working. So things that are different. I'm not really sure that anything is different besides the person. I know that my predecessor, he was very involved as well. And at the end of the day, all of my colleagues, we want the same things to make sure that all of the communities that we serve are safer. As you said, I am very community oriented, so I do make sure to get out into the community and see the concerns of the community members firsthand. So that is something that I have been doing each week, selecting a location and getting out into the community. I can't say that I'm the only one who does it because that is something that our chief believes in. So a lot of the other commanders are doing it as well. That is pretty much all I have, besides if you would like to get into some of the stats quickly.
Yeah, we can go with stats. And then commissioners, if you have quick questions, we can take those as well.
Okay, so just to show you,
I can't take them. Go ahead.
What I'll do, if I can share my screen.
You can, you should be able to.
Okay. So this is obviously the crime cards. I'm sure all of you have already pulled them up and look at them, but this is just a snapshot over the last month of where we are. So we're down in the homicides, thank God, the sex abuse. We did have an ADW and then our robbery. So this screen actually doesn't allow me to show you where we were for the previous or this same time the previous year, but I will say that the robberies, we've talked about it in our community meetings, and I've talked to a few of you on here about it, are up. Our robberies are up across the city, we know that. As far as this 16, we are up an additional 8 from this same time last year. For the last month, we've been seeing pretty much the robberies are the same across the district. With those robberies, the pattern or the method seems to be the same. So we're seeing individuals who are typically by themselves. That's the victim profile. They are typically by themselves, and the suspects are in groups of 3 to 4. They are arriving in a vehicle, which most times are stolen vehicles, and they're getting out of the vehicle and approaching the victim and then taking the property. For majority of the times we do recover the cell phones. So they're taking the cell phones to delay that process of calling us. So what we've seen in the 4th district is that pattern of they rob the victim, they take the cell phone, they discard it a block or 2 away, and they've moved on to the next one in close proximity. So by the time that we receive the calls for service for the robberies, we've already had 3 or 4 at a time. So it makes it difficult. If you look at the map that's on the screen, you'll see that they're very close together. That's because we have been dealing with pattern robberies. In the last 14 days, we have seen an uptick on that Eastern Avenue corridor. So this past weekend, I reached out to our partners over in Maryland, and they're seeing some of those same trends and patterns on the other side, on the Maryland side as well. So that's something that we've worked on over the weekend. Sleepless weekend, and we decided that we're going to go ahead and we're going to start doing some collaboration on that line to get control of that, because what we're seeing is that they're coming in on that Eastern Avenue corridor, they're robbing someone on our side and then going back over into Maryland and hitting someone over there as well. So that we have seen an uptick on that corridor. Moving into one thing that I just want to highlight right now, if you look at those theft from autos and theft other, that's the theft other, that's going to be your store. So that's what we're seeing, the CVS's. We've been seeing not so much from Target, but we got the CVS and the Walmart. We saw a little bit of an uptick, but what's really important that the stores were working with them, working with security to try to get those numbers down. So a lot of better collaboration there on our part. That's what we've been working with. We had a large meeting, invited out all their top companies, business owners. We met with them, and they're making sure that they have their security, and what we went over the guidelines of what they can do and better communication between the 2 of us. So we're working on that part, but what we need assistance with is those theft from autos. I have one community that was hit 2 weeks in a row. And when I say hit 2 weeks in a row, it was during the daytime, early in the morning, and it was a lot of the community members had maid services come out. So all of their maid service, they were inside servicing the homes, and while they were in the homes, an individual or individuals went down the row and ended up smashing the windows to their vehicles and taking their purses as well as their lunch bags of their service providers. During those crimes, in 2 of the vehicles, they received in excess of $600, not from the cars where the purses were stolen, just in the console of the car, of the vehicle. Additionally, that community, iPads have been taken. So I say that just to bring up the fact that we are still having some issues with leaving items in the car. So what happened after they received all of those items? They went back the next weekend. We had officers in the block, but they started on the other end. Obviously, we were there, pursued them. Unfortunately, we were not able to apprehend them. And the investigation is still ongoing. But we can just remind the community members to make sure that we aren't leaving things in the vehicle, because that is going to give some people reason to come back. That is pretty much what I wanted to highlight as far as the crime, unless you have any specifics.
Commissioner Palmer has a question.
Yes, thank you, Commander, for being here. We really appreciate it. I have 2 questions. One of which relates to how there used to be trainings, crime prevention and block captain trainings provided by Samantha Nolan, and they were very useful and residents seem to really like them. And I'm wondering if there's anything similar that's currently offered. And my second question is we have at least for my single member district, and I know a few others, we have a lot of questions and concerns about students and schools and safety there. And I'm wondering how the police department interacts with all the other agencies involved, including Safe Passage and DPR and DBH and all of them.
So for your first question, in reference to that training, what the police department does is we have and Officer Hammer, you can correct me, or Lassane, it's the citizens, what is it called? The Academy, the Citizens Academy. So they kind of go that route now. That is the program that we have.
Citizen Police Academy, yes, ma'am.
There you go. So that is the route that we go now as far as the department. I'm not sure what other agencies have in place, but that's what we do at this point. I know there were a few commissioners that have gone through it. I think Commissioner Rubio has gone through it, so she might be able to give you some more information on it, or I can also send it to you as well. In reference to the schools, so we've had several meetings, and I kind of like to bring it all back to the community meetings, but we've had several meetings in reference to the schools and some of the things that we're seeing. So our school resource division, I'll say a couple of months ago when we did have, again, our robberies in the 4th district are mostly patterns, so it would be 3 or 4 at a time. We had an uptick of those robberies, and we invited all of the school administrators to the table. So we did a meeting, and actually Councilwoman Lewis Shore, she kind of organized her team, organized that meeting, spearheaded it for us. So we had a meeting, we talked about, some of the things that we needed. Out of that came, again, better communication. So just trying to figure out where Safe Passage stops, where MPD picks up, and then obviously our school resource division. So we talked about the MPD school resource division is going to be the #1 when it comes to safety of the schools. Obviously, as commanders of a particular district, we are responsible for the safety of the students, on the streets to and from school. But school resource officers are the ones who run point on that. So basically, we had that meeting, we talked about it. What we did, I took it a step further because I know how our methods of robberies were, and I've staffed officers to supplement Safe Passage as well as school resource officers in the morning and in the afternoon for those couple of hours. But with me staffing that means I'm pulling away or taking away from calls for service. I'm taking those officers off the daily patrol routine to make sure that our students are safe. So as of right now, we still are staffing officers around the schools for to supplement Safe Passage.
Any other questions from commissioners? Nope. All right.
If I could, Commissioner, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that the commander put out earlier in reference to the pattern robberies. If we could just kind of put out to our constituents as far as our construction sites and construction workers, as far as having our construction companies try to do their best to take care of their employees by giving them an option of keeping their belongings on site instead of in their cars and on person, because we noticed that for construction companies, this is also a high target for our bad actors, as well as our Latino community. For our construction companies that are Latino employee heavy, what they're doing is they're paying their employees in cash. Their employees are being targeted once they leave work. I've talked to a couple of construction company project managers, which are going to be putting lockers on grounds that they're working on so that their employees can have their sensitive items on grounds instead of leaving out and being targeted for robberies. And again, like I said, just keeping our Latino community informed because a lot of our community members from the Latino community keep a lot of their cash available on their person. So this is something I just wanted to throw out there. And lastly, I know a lot of you commissioners seen a invite for a ANC security briefing from me that was supposed to happen in November. That was rescheduled due to the holidays, but I am shooting for January to resubmit that security briefing so that we can get a lot of that insight that Commissioner Palmer was speaking about with the block captains, and just giving you guys a little bit more of a tool to help work with the MPD so that we can combat these things on a street level, if that makes sense. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Commissioners, anything else? All right. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Be safe. All right. Next, we will double back to Nora and Project Wish. Let me elevate Nora. All right. So Nora, where's my agenda? Here we go. Nora Ivory is the Project Wish Coordinator, Community Health Administration, Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau, DC Health. We have a 10-minute presentation and 10-minute discussion.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you to the commission and the Director of Behavioral Health and the Police Department. I am a presenter, so therefore I can share my screen now. I am a proud Washingtonian native, and am fortunate to have the role right now as the Project Wish coordinator at the health department. Project Wish sits in the Community Health Administration under the Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau. Excuse me, I'm a little bit lacking a voice. So within the Cancer and Chronic Disease Prevention Bureau, there's a focus on chronic disease prevention and treatment, tobacco control. My colleagues work on creating the cancer statistics at the registry, and then we have the cancer program division that works, in my case at Project Wish, on breast and cervical cancer screenings. And there's also the colorectal cancer control program, as well as the comp cancer control program, which main mission is to run the DC Cancer Coalition, which is a citywide commission or coalition that works on decreasing the cancer burden across the city. And there's many different types of organizations represented on that. But let me focus on Project Wish, which has been in DC since 1997, when the CDC started funding what's nationally called the National Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program. The idea is to decrease, or the mission is to decrease breast and cervical cancer incidence, morbidity, and mortality, specifically targeting DC residents that are disproportionately affected by this cancer burden, which is Ward 4, 5, 7, and 8. And since Project Wish inception, there has been around 15,000 women served and 23,000 breast cancer screening and diagnostic services, and 199 women since 1997 have been diagnosed through the specific program for breast cancer. And the program provides these screening and diagnostic services for those in the district that do not have health insurance. It covers from screening to diagnosis, if those services are required to get to a diagnosis. And then also almost all of our patients qualify for, and so therefore receive navigation services. So help navigators at the provider sites, which I'll show a list of that in a little bit, provide interpretation, services, transportation, connection to social determinants of health, resources in the city. And so that's also part of the services that we cover through the program. And this is why Project Wish still exists. As you can see here on the left side, in Ward 2, the number of new cases of breast cancer is the highest. However, unfortunately, in wards 4, 5, 7, and 8, women die of breast cancer at much higher rates. And so getting at this disparity is why CDC continues to fund this service. And cancer is the leading cause of death for Hispanic or Latino populations in the district, and the second leading cause of death for whites and African American or Blacks. And near 1 in 7 Hispanic residents are those that do not have health insurance, and that's the highest, the group with the highest, with the lowest amount, or excuse me, sorry, the group that is the most uninsured in the city, and then followed by Black residents, and then lastly white residents. And so as I showed on the map, this is why we need to keep working towards increasing screening and supporting women in the case of breast and cervical cancer to get to screenings, because Black women are dying at almost twice the rate of white women of breast cancer here in the district, which is not okay, to say the least. And in terms of the cervical cancer burden, generally there are less cases of cervical cancer in the district, and because we are such a small jurisdiction, it's harder to deduce its impact. However, there is a disproportionate amount of mortality amongst African American and Latina women in cervical cancer versus white women. So who is eligible for Project Wish? For cervical cancer screenings, you have to be 21 or older. For breast cancer or mammograms, 40 years of age or older. However, if you have a family history or symptoms, you are more than eligible if you're not yet 40 years old. We serve district residents as well as Maryland and Virginia residents. The providers that we partner with are all in the district, but our focus is district residents, but we accept surrounding Maryland and Virginia counties. And we try to identify those that are most in need without health insurance, and with a limited income. Here are the list of providers that we work with. Breast Care for Washington, which is in Southwest. The Ralph Lauren Cancer Prevention Center, which only just recently changed its name, is previously called Capital Breast Care Center. They're located in Southwest as well. And Family Medical and Counseling Services provide cervical cancer screenings, as well as the Friedman Clinic at Howard. And then we also work with the Cancer Center at Howard for breast services, and Unity and La Clinica for cervical cancer services. And if you send out follow-ups at the end of the meeting, I'm happy to send this presentation, and someone can do a 2-minute survey to briefly share their information if they would like to sign up for Project Wish. You can contact me here. These variety of ways to contact me. And yeah, I think that's all. And thank you again for the invitation. And I'm sorry we couldn't make it happen. And thank you for reaching out in October, which was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But every month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, really. So encourage everyone on the call to consider getting their mammogram, and just know that it's there's a lot of cancers out there, and right now breast cancer has had so much research and science behind it to help us detect it early and save lives. So take advantage of it. That's all.
Aaron, Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, thank you, Nora. Thank you for coming in a subsequent month to Breast Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month. These are such valuable services. I have one clarification. I want to make sure I understand that this is a federally funded program. And then my question is how this is just so incredibly valuable, how you get this information out to people, which is obviously something we can assist with, but what that looks like otherwise.
Yeah. We are 75% supported by CDC, and there's a local match of the rest of the budget. And we have a community health worker that we fund through the breast care for Washington, as well as through Ralph Lauren Cancer Prevention Center. So there are staff dedicated to getting the word out. And we have aspirations to hire a cancer and chronic disease specific community health worker who would work on within DC Health, making those connections and outreaching. And I'm here I am. And also we work with the communications department to build campaigns. Right now we're working on one through Radio 1 that will hopefully our director Robin Diggs will speak with some of their prominent personalities on the show and get the word out that way.
Any other questions? I don't see any hands raised. Are there any questions in the chat? Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for hanging around and allowing us to juggle the schedule a little bit. I appreciate it.
Certainly.
All right. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move to our regular reports. We'll hear from Sophia Tacola from the Mayor's Office on Community Relations and Services. There we go.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I have a few updates today, starting with this upcoming Wednesday. There will be the Act Now hearing before council. I know a few people on this call have registered to testify, and that is amazing. There is still time if you want to share your thoughts, concerns, or agreements or anything like that, you can definitely send it to me or council, and we will make sure the right people hear that. And the hearing will take place at 9 a.m. You can watch it and be a part of it on the council's website and TV station. In addition to that, currently with DPW, Section C for all the leave pickups has now started. If you are in Section B or Section A and your leaves were not picked up, please report it to 311. You're more than welcome to also either email, text, call me, and I can support you with that as well. We want to make sure that all the leaves are getting picked up. And then if you see a problem area, for example, that isn't getting picked up right now, let me know and I can drive to it and sort of put some more eyes on that area. And then we have the 25th annual senior holiday celebration. And so that's going to be taking place Wednesday, December 13th at 10 a.m. at the DC Armory. And so I'll put everything I'm talking about as per usual into the chat after I'm done talking about it to make sure that everybody has that information. If you are not registered for the DC weather alerts, please do so. Currently, we're having a lot of weather reports for the hyperthermia. Currently, starting as 7 p.m., there's a hyperthermia alert for tonight. And what that says is there's going to be extra support for shelters, and then just keep an eye on for people in the community. If you see somebody who might be too cold, or you can point them to a shelter, you can call 202-399-6999. 7093 or 311. However, if somebody is in danger, if they are unresponsive, please call 911. Next up, Commander Lavenhouse talked a lot about the carjackings. As a reminder and to echo what she said, we're really up with carjackings. We've through across DC, because I know that we drive and we're not just in Ward 4, but we have had across all of DC 900 carjackings, which is a lot. And so with holidays, I know that we want to maybe if we are giving out presents, wanting secret places to like keep them, do not keep them in trunks. A lot of people can break into trunks really easily and steal those. So as a reminder, keep that in mind. And then December 4th, DMV's Black Restaurant Week will start up. Mayor Bowser will be going to the grand opening of a cutting ribbon ceremony in Ward 7 at Miss Toya's Southern Cuisine. And so if you want to be a part of that, definitely either reach out to me or on DC Mayor Bowser's webpage, you can get information for that. As well as the DC Holiday Market, I had the pleasure of partnering up with Coolidge's media team, and we partnered up with the director, Zakia, and a lot of the kids got to videotape what was going on, interview the mayor, interview downtown DC bid, and be a part of all of the festivities, taking pictures, and it was a really, really fun event. So it was super cool to see Coolidge kids and talk about all the wonderful things they are doing. And then our last thing to speed it up, because I know I'm out of time. This is super important. I'm working with Whittier Elementary about this currently. I was there on a Wednesday handing out turkeys to families requesting them, but there will be a listening session coming up. The email has not been sent out, but because I heard that was one of our big questions, and I know Commissioner Yeats talked about it last time I was here, currently working with the principal and PTO to have a listening session with DC government agencies, myself, all of the Whittier staff, community members, parents, and guardians, and different things like that to have a listening session about the swing space. And I think that is, oh, sorry. Super last thing with the dog attack on Tewksbury. There's been a lot of questions and concerns about that. I went to the Humane Society, talked to the vice president, and we're still waiting on a timeline to get all of the information back, and sort of the problem we are facing right now for a lot of members of the community who are on this call, and that has been a big concern, is this attack was involving in the family, and so it didn't have another animals outside the family that was involved. And so there's been a lot of looking into that, also brought in the ASPCA. They said it's not necessarily their jurisdiction. The investigator has came out 3 times that I have been made known of to talk with the families. And so still waiting for more information on that of next steps. But that is all I have. Thank you for letting me go over time.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question for, any commissioner have a question for Sophia? Commissioner Yates?
Yeah, I wanted to ask what's going on with the DCPS bargaining for a new contract with WTU. Contract expired the end of September. I was just reading today that the mayor's team, the chancellor and all, have yet to sit down to bargain with the bargaining team from WTU. Seems like, you know, normally I do contract bargaining for a living. You start several months before it expires, and we're like 2 months after the expiration and the mayoral team hasn't sat down yet. Any idea what's going on there?
I have not heard much about that, but I can look into that and then also reach out to our liaisons with WTU.
Commissioner Palmer?
Thank you. A question and then a comment. Sophia, when we had walked around back in January, I had pointed out a concrete block at Georgia and Van Buren, which there used to be, I think, a post box on it, and at some point the trash can was on it and was not. And I've tried to get it removed and asked for your assistance. And instead of removing the block, they've removed the trash can. And since they've done that, there has been a noticeable increase of litter along Van Buren Street. And we've done so much to not have the removal of public trash cans. And if they can't remove the concrete block, that's fine. But I'd really like the trash can back.
Absolutely.
It has made like an overnight worsening of the litter along Van Buren. And then on the dog attack issue, the Humane Rescue Alliance has said that they have finished their investigation and there was a determination that the dog was not dangerous. So the issue is whether there is any appeal or process with Humane Rescue Alliance, not any sort of national nonprofit or MPD, whether there is a review process with the Humane Rescue Alliance.
And then also another thing that I forgot to mention, one of the things that the vice president was saying was for the dogs who have had all of their shots, they won't be in quarantine, but for the puppies who haven't had all of their shots, they will need to go into a quarantine for a certain amount of time since the attack. However, I do not have a timeline specifically for that. And so that is what I'm waiting on to let the community know that some of these dogs will be in quarantine.
All right, thank you. I believe there are 2 questions in the chat, or a question in the chat. Excuse me. And it is, how do you sign up for a weather alert? You want to explain that? Okay, thank you.
I can put the link in to sign up for it, and then there's also a number to text. So I'll put all of that information in for an easy just press it.
Thank you. All right. I believe residents had their hands raised, so we'll go with Angela Anderson first. Ms. Anderson?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Hi, wonderful. Hi, so I'm Angela Anderson. I am the current PTO president at Whittier, and I just wanted to say I'm excited to hear that there is an upcoming meeting because it's the first I'm hearing of it. We've been requesting a meeting for quite some time, and I have to say that I am hopeful that that meeting will happen before January, if it's possible. But yeah, I just wanted to say I'm excited. I know there's some other things coming down the pipeline during this meeting regarding Whittier and the swing space issue, but a follow-up with this conversation and going forward, it's definitely something positive. So thank you for mentioning that on this during this meeting.
Absolutely. And I was just talking to Principal Johnson about you. So glad you're here. You will be getting an email from me shortly.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, we're going to move to, well, it looks like someone took their hand down. So I guess that's it for questions. And we will move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Next, we have representation from Councilmember Louis George's office. It is typically Barbara Rogers, but she is not here. So tonight we will have Kelly Hunt and Oscar Montiel, I believe was his last name. 1 second.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly Hunt. I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
Okay, great. Thanks. So yes, I'm Councilmember Louis George's Chief of Staff, playing the role of Barbara Rogers this evening while she is taking a well-deserved break. But one thing I wanted to do was also introduce Oscar, who is our new Constituent Services Director. So I'll let him introduce himself before I go into the report.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Oscar Montiel, and I've just recently joined Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Louis George's team as Constituent Services Director. I'm stoked to be serving the community that I grew up in, and at that, the best ward in the city. I'm a DC native, and I've resided in the ward for nearly decades, so I hold the ward near and dear to my heart. Want to make myself available to everyone should you have any constituent services requests, questions, or concerns. I'll leave my contact information in the chat.
There's some
Apologize that I can't stay to the end of the meeting, but please feel free to get in touch and I'll circle back as soon as I can. Thank you for allowing me to introduce myself, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
You too.
Thanks, Oscar. And thanks again, everyone else, for giving us the opportunity to bring some new information to you tonight. I'm excited to say I have a little late breaking information that was provided to us after this meeting started, specifically regarding public litter cans. DPW let us know this evening that they are going to be installing 6 additional public litter cans, primarily in SMD 4B09. And we know that you guys have been advocating, as Commissioner Palmer mentioned earlier, about some clarity and action from DPW to restore those cans, especially when they were removed without notice. So we're really optimistic that this means that more cans and cleaner streets hopefully are on their way. And Will Perkins from our office is going to be reaching out to Commissioner Thompson and Chair Brooks once he has the definite locations of all 6, so that you guys will know where those are. A couple of additional 4B specific developments that we have learned. One, we are extremely excited to announce that the Ron Austin Memorial Park designation is moving its way through council. The bill that Councilmember Lewis George introduced would rename the park between North Dakota Avenue, 2nd Street, and Quackenboss Street after Ron Austin in honor of his service to Ward 4. So the hearing on that is going to take place on Friday, December 15th. And as always, we hope community members will testify. If you need the link, we're happy to send that to you to register. And we want to send a special thank you to Commissioner Johnson for working with our office over what turns out to be several years to get this bill moving forward. So thank you very much for that. We're really excited about it. The new traffic light at Sligo Mill and Eastern Avenue Northeast is scheduled to be activated tomorrow. So we want to thank ANC 4B for your partnership on that. And although this is not in 4B any longer, we know that you guys are very interested in what happens at Emory Heights Community Center, and a lot of residents still take, in 4B, take advantage of the services there, especially some of our seniors. The elevator there has been broken for months now, and we have been working with DGS trying to stay on top of it, find out how long it's going to take to repair. We were told that there was a part that was needed. The part arrived, was installed, and then that exposed a bigger issue. So we don't yet have a date for when it should be completed or should be repaired. And frankly, we're looking at possibly having to draw on some capital funds to make the repair. So they're doing that analysis now, but hopefully it won't be too much longer. Moving a little bit to some of the legislative work that we have been working on and are trying to move forward. Councilmember Lewis George introduced a bill last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess now, the Doing Right by DC Tenants Act that is aimed at solving a problem we see a lot here in Ward 4 and unfortunately across the district, where frankly being a slumlord has become a profitable business model. And we don't think that should be the case. We have ways to enforce property conditions, but the thing that we're finding is that there are property owners who are neglecting their properties and then turn around and are able to buy more properties while not taking care of their original portfolio. So essentially they're growing a business that is being supported on the backs of people who really need the help. So this bill would say that if I am a property owner and I have received 5 or more serious housing code violations in a 12-month period, I can't get a new building permit or a new business license on a new property. So it doesn't do anything to impact what they are providing now, but it doesn't allow them to grow the business until they actually take care of what they already have. So hopefully that will be moving forward in the council after the first of the year. This week, we're going to be marking up the council members' Work Order Integrity Act, which is designed to improve communication between DGS and DCPS and make sure, in all honesty, it's just making sure that repairs on school properties are both completed and to everyone's satisfaction. That's not exactly the system at the moment. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow that we're really excited about, the Green New Deal for social housing. Councilmember Lewis George introduced that bill at the beginning of this council period and also last council period. And there's already been a hearing on the bill, but this hearing is more an exercise with experts in social housing and affordable housing, and taking a look at how it's designed to work and whether or not it is right for DC and how we should be tweaking it to fit our specific needs. So we're really excited about the information that will be shared tomorrow. As was mentioned earlier, on Wednesday is the Act Now DC hearing, the mayor's bill that's focused on addressing retail crime, setting up some drug-free zones, and making changes to police transparency and accountability measures. So again, wholeheartedly invite people to testify and to share your thoughts with us on that as well. On December 11th, we'll be having a hearing on the Whole Government Response to Crime Act, which was originally introduced by Councilmember Robert White, that focuses on recertifying our Troubled Crime Lab, improving performance at the 911 call center, requiring DC to track performance metrics for violence prevention programs, which I think is really important, and increasing coordination across agencies to prevent crime and gun violence. And taking us into the new year, we're excited about the fact that on January 11th, there will be a hearing on the council members' Conflict Resolution Education Act. We obviously are concerned about the incidents of crimes involving our youth, and believe that conflict resolution education could be a really important part of solving that problem. So there'll be a hearing on January 11th. And as always, like I said, hope that anyone interested will testify on that. And that is, I think, all of my notes. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Let me see. I'm sorry, I'm talking and I'm on mute. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kelly. Does anyone have a question, Commissioner Johnson?
I just wanted to thank Councilmember Lewis George's efforts from all the way back to 2020 when this was initially proffered to date to move this process forward. So I'm very appreciative, as are many members of the community who knew and loved working with and for Mr. Austin. So thank you.
Yes. Commissioner Yates.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I just wanted to draw Ms. Hunt's attention to the resolution that I'm putting forward tonight with regards to DGS's response to rodents in public facilities, because the council member chairs the committee that has oversight on DGS, and just encourage you to work cooperatively with the oversight of the Committee of Health to ensure that schools, parks, playgrounds, and recreation centers get the same responsiveness for rat infestations that we provide for private residences in the District of Columbia.
Thank you. I actually was reading through that, so we will absolutely be paying attention to that. Thank you.
Let's see any other hands. No other hands, no other comments. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Seems like that you've covered everything. No one has any questions. All right, that's much appreciated. Okay, next on our agenda is State Board Representative Fraser O'Leary, but I do not see him on the list. And so if you're here on someone else's Zoom account, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll move into our committee updates. We'll start with the Housing Justice Committee.
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. We held our last committee meeting on November 1st, which included a really great discussion about housing supports and services for returning citizens. We heard from the National Reentry Network for Returning Citizens, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, the Mayor's Office on Returning Citizen Affairs, and Catholic Charities. For our December meeting, we're actually doing a happy hour social. So we will be gathering on, let me make sure I get the date and time right. Wednesday, December 6th, starting at 7 at Tacoma Station for drinks and food. Anyone is welcome, and we'd love to talk to you about housing and other things as well. And then we'll meet again in January. On January 3rd at 7 p.m. we meet virtually, and we'll begin our discussions about budget advocacy for the year. And hopefully we will be able to connect with the council members' office about the Doing Right by DC Tenants Act, because we would love to hear more about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Yates, you want to give an update on the Housing Justice Committee? I'm sorry, on the Vision Zero Committee?
Yeah, the Housing Justice Committee was amply answered by Commissioner Palmer. The November meeting for the Vision Zero meeting committee was canceled. DDOT scheduled a meeting about the last segment of the Metropolitan Branch Trail construction during the same time at the same evening as ours. So our committee decided to attend that meeting if possible instead, given its direct subject matter relationship to what we work on. We haven't made a decision about the December meeting yet, unless my co-chair, Chair Brooks, has made a decision and hasn't informed me yet. But I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat to the information on that Met Branch Trail meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next is the Youth Advisory Committee. Commissioner Palmer, you want to give an update, or you want me to do that?
Either is fine, Chair Brooks.
Well, the committee has not met yet. We are still accepting applications from students. We hope to get off the ground running in January. Given that we don't meet in December, we thought we would start fresh in the new year. So if you have students that are interested, we would be happy to take their applications.
Can I just add something, Chair Brooks?
Sure.
Just that applications are meant to be simple and straightforward. It's just a short statement of interest in any relevant experience. We're not trying to burden teenagers who have plenty of homework. We just want to hear a little bit about them and why they're interested.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right, with that, I will move to the consent calendar. As everyone I'm sure knows, we post our resolutions or any information that we're voting on our website each month in advance of the meeting. All of the items on the consent calendar were posted. I will read the consent calendar and then we will vote on it in totality. Okay, so we have Resolution 4B231101, highlighting administrative challenges in issuing ANC grants and requesting procedural improvements to facilitate commission grant making. Commissioner Brooks, Palmer, Smith, Gilligan, and Yates. Resolution 4B231102, calling for parity in response to rodent infestations across private residences, schools, and parks. Commissioner Yates, Palmer, Smith, and Brooks. Resolution 4B231103, supporting ANC 4D regarding Kennedy Street Library. Commissioner Brooks, Johnson, and Palmer. Resolution 4B231104, reiterating calls for conveniently located swing space for Whittier Elementary School. Commissioner Smith, Brooks, and Palmer. With that, is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
I'll move.
I make the motion.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, I believe that's everyone. All righty. Next on the agenda is the last item on the agenda. Resolution, I'm shocked. Resolution 4B231105, supporting and providing feedback on B250564, the Environmental Justice Amendment Act of 2023. Commissioner Palmer, Yates, Brooks, and Smith. Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you. I will try and keep this brief to continue delighting our chair with our timeliness. This resolution supports and provides feedback on B25-0564, the Environmental Justice Amendment Act of 2023, recently introduced by Ward 5 Councilmember Zachary Parker. The act would require the district government to consider the cumulative environmental impacts of a project when granting or renewing permits and licenses, and would create a mechanism to deny those permits and licenses where a project will disproportionately burden so-called overburdened communities, which are communities that are subject to a disproportionately high level of environmental and public health stressors. As defined, overburdened communities includes every census tract in Wards 7 and 8, as well as nearly all of Ward 5, and a significant piece of Ward 4, including portions of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4B. The proposed legislation ultimately aims to make it harder for smaller polluters to operate and continue to operate without oversight. This resolution is responsive to the work of other commissions and residents in seeking to address environmental injustices, including Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5D, which has advocated for years regarding a toxic chemical facility, National Engineering Products, located in its commission area. As that commission has stated, for over half a century, NEP's chemical plant in Ivy City has emitted harmful chemicals, including carcinogens like formaldehyde, severely impacting residents' health and the environment. The cumulative impact of industrial uses in Ivy City are burdensome to the residents on top of cancer-causing chemicals being emitted. So in addition to supporting the proposed legislation, the resolution asks that the DC Council engage in some additional analysis, including defining or articulating parameters around mitigating measures and reasonable alternatives, which are part of how the legislation determines whether a project can move forward, recognizing that both of those terms are subjective. Teasing out the role of the proposed new Energy and Environmental Justice Division within the Department of Energy and Environment, including how that entity interacts with other government entities like the Mayor's Office of Racial Equity, and assessing further the district's zoning practices, which allow the siting of these polluters to begin with, as well as the specific burden of vehicle pollution, including highways and highway-like roads, and the standards imposed on the district government itself, which owns and or operates some of these environmentally polluting facilities. So that's overall what the resolution says and what it calls for.
All right, thank you for that. Is there a motion to accept the, is there a motion to accept the resolution as submitted?
I'm pleased to move it, Chair Brooks.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. Is there any discussion? Any question? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I believe that's everyone. All right, thank you. Before we adjourn tonight's meeting, I do want to point out that the commission does not meet in December. The fourth Monday of the month is usually the holiday season. So we will reconvene in January. Our planning meeting will be January 9th, and our public meeting will be the fourth Monday in January, which is January 22nd. Now, if you have any questions, in the meantime, residents can reach out to their individual commissioners, and we will get back to you. So with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.